A massive iceberg has broken away from Antarctica. Aerial footage shows an enormous crack in the Brunt Ice Shelf, which is a floating protrusion of glaciers in the Weddell Sea. Scientists from the British Antarctic Survey, which has a base on the shelf, say they first noticed cracks forming about 10 years ago and had been monitoring the situation closely, expecting a break. Their operations in Antarctica have been reduced since 2017 in anticipation of something like this happening. There's reportedly no threat to human life as the base is currently unoccupied. The new iceberg is reportedly close to 490 square miles, which is bigger than all of New York City. Scientists say they aren't too concerned about this break. Since the ice was already floating, it's unlikely that it will contribute to rising sea levels. They also reportedly said that these breaks, also known as calves, are a natural process and aren't likely caused by climate change.
Sea level rise will be one of the greatest challenges we face in the next century. How high seas rise and how soon has a lot to do with what happens here. Antarctica holds the largest chunk of ice on Earth. Its western portion alone contains enough ice to raise sea levels by more than 3 meters. And it's in big trouble, largely because of this. Its face towers as high as a 6-story building and extends for 120 kilometers across the coast of West Antarctica, making it about the size of Florida. It's a humongous glacier that reaches right into the heart of West Antarctica. And that's a major problem, because in the past couple decades, it's become increasingly clear the Thwaites Glacier is falling apart. This is the Antarctic ice sheet. It's thickest in the middle, where years and years of snowfall compacts into ice. As the middle builds, it pushes ice out towards the oceans via glaciers. And the part of a glacier that floats on water is its ice shelf. Today, man-made climate change is warming the air and water around Antarctica, causing each side of the ice sheet to melt, but at very different speeds. The eastern ice sheet lies mostly on high ground, above sea level, which keeps it relatively safe from warm ocean water. That means it's melting slowly and remains relatively stable. But West Antarctica is different. Most of it lies below sea level. That means as it thins, water can undermine it, possibly kickstarting a more rapid collapse. It's why West Antarctica is considered the most important piece of ice in the world when it comes to climate change. Here's another view of the bedrock underneath Antarctica's ice sheet. Right now, Thwaites is barely hanging on. In the past 30 years, the front of Thwaites' ice shelf has lost a lot of ice, causing it to retreat backwards. With a smaller ice shelf to slow the flow of ice, the flow of the glacier speeds up. But the bigger problem is the glacier's grounding line, the final point where the glacier rests on the bedrock. That grounding line has been shifting backwards as warm ocean water reaches underneath the ice shelf. It's moved 14 kilometers since 1992. The collapse of Thwaites would add about half a meter of sea level rise and trigger a much bigger catastrophe. Because Thwaites reaches into the middle of West Antarctica, its collapse could cause the rest of the ice sheet to collapse with it, resulting in more than 3 meters of sea level rise in the next few centuries. That would submerge not only Miami and southern Bangladesh, but also parts of the Netherlands and New York City. So while there's a lot of uncertainty around Thwaites, one thing is clear. Once it starts to collapse, it won't stop.